relaxing and enjoying your time off. Hopefully, you'll get Monday off. I think a lot of places are closed on Monday. I know the church offices are. And so I hope that this weekend is a blessed weekend for you. And I do hope that if you haven't been attending services, that you will consider joining with us on Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. We do have live broadcasts just like this uh, every Sunday morning at 10:30, but we also have in-house worship services as well. And I just encourage you to come and be a part of the worship service there at First Baptist Hayden. And I want to call your attention today to the incredible power of had to remove a notification. Sorry about that. Oh, there's another one. Quit, y'all. I want to call your attention today to the incredible power of honor. To honor someone is to respect the position that God has placed them in, to give them the honor that is due them because God has allowed them, even anointed them in that spot. And I want to talk to you today about David and Saul. In particular, I want to talk to you about the honor that David showed Saul regardless of the wickedness and the evil that Saul had intended to do to him. And it's found in 1 Samuel chapter 24, which is a incredible, the entire two books, it really in reality it was a single scroll, but for us it was divided into two books, 1st and 2nd Samuel. And it's just the story of how God used Samuel as the first prophetic voice in the nation of Israel after they had entered the promised land. There had been prophets and judges that came along, but Samuel was the last of the judges and the very first of the prophets. And his influence is now waning. The restraining influence that he had within Israel has now waned. He'll pass away in the next chapter. If you read the book of 1 Samuel, you'll find in chapter 25 that it talks about his death and how all of Israel had mourned. But he has anointed David the king. Saul has violated God's will over and over and over again. And finally, God said, I would have established your throne forever, but you have proven that you will not obey me. I am going to remove it and give it to someone whose heart is after my own heart, meaning someone who will not allow their sin to create a pattern of disobedience in their life. And so David was that one. And so David has been anointed for several years. And because of that, Saul has at times chased David, tried to kill David repeatedly. And Jonathan, his son, Saul's son, has attempted to save David. They were best friends. And now David has, he and his family and other members, people that were associated with him, are hiding in the southern part toward the Dead Sea. It's called the En-Gedi in the Bible. But let me read this to you because it's an incredible story, and I want to share a couple of thoughts with you. When Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, so Saul is securing the borders of Israel, driving the Philistine people back. In fact, there are some who believe that the modern day Palestinians are are the descendants of these people, the Philistines. When Saul had returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told, David is in the wilderness near En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 of Israel's fit young men and went to look for David and his men in front of the rocks of the wild goats. Now, this is the area where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. There's a lot of caves. There are a lot of places that you can hide, a lot of small canyons and areas in that area. And when Saul came to the sheep pens along the road, a cave was there, and he went in to relieve himself. The King James Bible says he went in to cover his feet, meaning he had to drop his robe to use the bathroom. That's what it's talking about. He's in there. What he didn't know is that at the back of this very huge cavern, this huge cave in the darkness, David and about 600 men are hiding. And he doesn't know it. He's alone. His bodyguards are outside guarding the entrance. Saul is inside. He's made his way down just to the edge of the light. And now he is very, very vulnerable. And what does David do? Well, his men began to tell him, look, this is the day the Lord spoke to you about how he will give your enemies into your hand. Do whatever you please with him. Do whatever you desire. And David got up. He crept forward. He secretly cut off the corner of Saul's robe. He could have very easily killed Saul. Afterward, David's conscience bothered him. Here's the honor. Even doing something like this bothered him because it showed disrespect to his king, to the one the Lord had anointed. Afterward, David's conscience bothered him because he had cut off the corner of Saul's robe. And he said to his men, I swear before the Lord, I would never do such a thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed. I will never lift my hand against him, since he is the Lord's anointed. With these words, David persuaded his men, and he did not let them rise up against Saul. He refused to do to Saul what Saul wanted to do to him. He refused to kill him. And then Saul left the cave and went on his way. After that, David got up and went out of the mouth of the cave and called to Saul, My Lord the king! When Saul looked behind him, David knelt low with his face to the ground, and he paid homage. He knelt and he put his face to the ground. That is a place of submission and fealty. That is a place that says, I give you the honor you are due because of the office God has placed you in. And David said to Saul, Why do you listen to the words of people who say, Look, David intends to harm you? You can see with your own eyes that the Lord handed you over to me today in the cave. Someone advised me to kill you. But I took pity on you, and I said, I won't lift my hand against my Lord, since he is the Lord's anointed. Look, my father, and David is referencing the fact that he is actually the son-in-law to the king. Saul had married one of his daughters off to David. Look, my father, look at the corner of your robe in my hand, for I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. Recognize that I have committed no crime nor rebellion. I haven't sinned against you, even though you are hunting me down to take my life. Now, we tend to take our revenge when we get the opportunity, when someone harms us. That's at least what we want to do. But the power of honor in our life says, I will respect the position that this person has. It may be a spouse, it may be a parent, it may be a pastor, it may be a boss, it may be someone who had authority over you in the past. And David said, May the Lord judge between me and you, and may the Lord take vengeance on you for me, but my hand will never be against you. That's the power of honor. Learning to honor those who are in authority over us. Now, the Bible tells us that Saul thanked him, was gracious to him because of his heart that would not harm his king. And it says that Saul went his way, saying, I know that one day you will be king, that God has appointed it. So when you are, will you please take care of my family? Will you not destroy my family? You see, Saul's concern was because David has been anointed by Samuel to be king, that one day when the king comes to power, he typically removes all possible claimants to the throne. That's just the way it's done. And Saul knew it. It would be what Saul would do. That's not the heart of David. Vengeance, wrath, that wasn't his heart. His heart was a heart of mercy. His heart was a heart of respect and honor. And because of that, God blessed his throne and God blessed his kingdom, and it expanded greatly when David finally took the throne after Saul had been killed in battle. Folks, we need to learn to honor those in authority. A police officer stops and gives us a ticket. Rather than being angry and disrespectful, we should be honorable. We should honor him. For Romans 13 tells us they do not wield the sword in vain. They are there to stand against evildoers. When our mayors, our governors, our president says or does things that may be dishonorable, may be foolish, may be out of place, we ought to honor them. We ought to lift them up. We ought not to raise our voice or our hand against them. Even cutting off the robe, the corner of Saul's robe, troubled David's conscience. It bothered him. That small act of disrespect bothered him. Are you bothered when you, with disrespect, speak of those who are in authority in your life? I know that at times as a pastor, I have had to deal with the disrespect and the dishonor of people in church who, because they did not understand the full picture, did not know the reason for the decision, and I couldn't speak about all of the reasons for the decisions I had to make. But rather than accept that and trust God, they chose the path of dishonor. I want to suggest to you that no matter who is in your life that has any measure of authority in your life, you have a responsibility before God to honor them and trust God that if they are wrong, He will show them, or, as in Saul's case, He will remove them. The incredible power of honor, to show honor even if we feel it is undeserved, is something that God will bless. It's something that God will use in our own lives. And when we have that place of authority, or when we're in a position of authority, those around us may indeed honor us as well. So often we reap the fruit of the seeds we have planted in our own lives, and we are totally confused as to why. Practice giving honor to those in your life who have a measure of authority in your life. Let me pray for you and we'll be finished today. Father, I thank you for this story in your word. I thank you that you have given us the story of honor and respect to show us that even in the smallest things that show dishonor, our conscience should bother us. Help us, Lord, to with honor respect and honor those who are around us. And if indeed they do wrong, if indeed they fail, that you will reveal it to them, that you will show them, and that God, you will be honored because of the honor we show those who are in authority. I pray it all in the name of Jesus and for your glory. Amen. God bless you. Have a blessed Friday, and I hope that I'll see you on Sunday morning in our church. See you then at